Hello, my name is Micael Sousa. I'm a researcher from the University of Coimbra, and I'm here to present my paper about modern board games and nudging. This paper is about the transformation of Google Drawings into a game-based nudging tool to foster collaboration. This was inspired in modern board game designs and transferred into a game that was playable online as a way to establish a digital nudging experience. We should start from asking the following question. Are games delivering nudging experiences? Games should be voluntary activities, but game designers may define what players can do in the game. So this is like scripting, but the games can be more or less scripting or more or less sandbox. So game designers can influence and control what the players do, their freedom, and this can be problematic. Still, even when we play in a sandbox, we must follow some rules. For example, to use the sand and to play inside the box. Nudging and game design should be easy to learn and to use, play, provide feedback or information about the choices, and focus on goals. They are goal driven. So these three topics are at least something that the nudging and game design have in common. A game and a nudging exercise or experience should be easy to learn, easy to play, provide feedback information so the user can be aware of the impacts of their decisions, and they should be able to see the effects. This is why they are focused on goals. Even entertainment focus on goals. They try to approach and to engage players in the different player profiles in the best way as they can to provide a good experience. And are board games better for nudging? Board games have some specific traits that interest nudging. They have transparent systems, so no black boxes, which help the user to understand what is happening in the game. Users can adapt rules, so they can transform the game to please their intentions and to fit their objectives in the game, in the type of experiences they want. And analog games, board games, demand player agency. The game only functions if the player activates the game. And this is also related to the freedom to do the activity. That is something that nudging should be about, and that's related to the ethics of nudging. Focus on the use and voluntary activity. The mood of the players affect the experience. This is also important because we are dealing with player behavior, and the way the players feel and the human and the physical environmental influence the play experience. So this is also important to consider for nudging. Tabletop games are popular due to the phenomenon of hobby gaming. Adults and families are using these games to foster socialization, and the new designs are providing experiences to broader player profiles. Simple games, complex games, games that have stories, games that simulate specific realities and even history, they are all engaging new players that are trying to have new experiences outside the digital platforms. Mastering modern board game design can help us build game-based experiences like gamification and serious games. And we can use modern board games designs also for nudging. For example, improve Zoom sessions to foster collaboration and engage participants. Using software like Zoom and many others alike can be combined with other friendly user tools like Google Drawings. We can build game-like activities that can incentivize users to adopt some specific behavior. For example, in our common Zoom meetings, we can use some of these games to engage the participants, which can improve the results of the meeting, whatever the issues at stake. The case study was a Google Drawings game, and it was designed to be played in 2 sessions with university students. And I followed this protocol where players choose their forms, shapes, figures, then they write their names inside the forms, and they could customize their form, change the color, adapt the size, and then the game would start. And this is where the nudging and for collaboration happens. Players would need to move and rotate their forms to fill the most continuous space in the white canvas where the forms were drawn before. This yellow picture is when the collaboration should start. First it was individual, then it was a collaborative exercise. This is the results from session 1 and session 2. We can see the individual forms with the names, and we can see the ongoing game where the players talked to each other and tried to cooperate and then collaborate to achieve the purposes that were to be as close as together without overlap or overlay any of the forms of the other players, and try to fill the most surface as possible in a continuous way. So you can see that with 11 players in session 1 and with 31 players in session 2, this was possible to do during an online session of Zoom. Comparing the nudging dimensions with the game, the proposed game, we can see that there's some internal imposed behavior and some external imposed, in some desired behavior and in some self-control. The self-expression was done by choosing the form and then do not overlap in the collaborative exercise. The exercise will discourage choosing more than one form to represent each player, so each one only had one form, and it will encourage collaboration and communication. It will disencourage not to collaborate and not to attend to the other players' forms. Boosting self-control, each player should analyze the state of the game and adapt their form to fit the group. Adapt just by moving, not changing the size, so this was not allowed. They were encouraged to ignore other players' forms and moves, and encouraged to ask and give helping without forcing choices. So they could collaborate where to move, how to do, and this could all be possible if they were communicating with other players. They were discouraged to ignore inactive and not engaged players. Because it was a collaborative exercise, even the players that were not engaged were incentivized by the other players to move and to participate in the exercise. No record of negative feedback from players. Students recognized they were surprised with the activity, and approximately 30% of them shared feedback after the session, referring something like relating to the skills and behaviors necessary to foster collaboration. It was useful to address the need to trust and communicate during collaboration, debate and test solution ideas before doing them, and the need to adapt and coordinate efforts to reach the common goals. And the need to have common goals, so every player would be engaged in participating in the activity. The effectiveness of law rules bounded collaboration. So there was no need to define a lot of rules, only that they could move their forms and not overlap and try to fill the most continuous surface of the canvas. Some conclusions. The Google Drawing game proved to be fast and easy to use in streaming activities like Zoom and many other software. Simple rule set and player agency fitted the nudging traits, as explained in the previous table. Modern board games mechanisms like tile placement deliver the game experience. It was possible to transpose some of the mechanisms that are common in modern board games and that engage many new players, and it was possible to do this in a virtual environmental. Collaborative game-based dynamics engage students with enough challenges, not a lot of rules. Challenge that was not very complex, but hard to implement in practice, which fitted the virtual environmental and the challenge of moving the digital shapes in Google Drawings. Allowing each player to define their shape for the game without knowing the objective delivered a powerful metaphor for individual and collaborative conflicts, being a way of learning about collaboration as a result of the experiences and the freedom that the players had to play and to interact with the game. The game could be done face-to-face in a meeting also. Many thanks for the attention.